Picture a mountain lion, an animal that takes down full-grown elk, that has no natural predators, that other animals actively avoid. Now picture a speaker in the forest playing two people having a casual conversation. Not a growl, not a roar, just humans talking about nothing in particular. The mountain lion hears this and runs, faster and farther than it runs from anything else on Earth. This happened in a real experiment, and when the researchers saw the results, they named us something they had never called any species before: the super predator. Not because we're the biggest or the fastest, but because of something that runs much deeper than claws or venom or speed. And once you understand it, you'll never look at a spooked animal the same way again. Here's how it started. Before spears, before traps, before any tool at all, early humans hunted by running, not fast. A deer can sprint at 60 kilometers an hour. A human jogs at about 12. By any normal measure, we should never catch anything. But humans sweat. Most animals don't, not efficiently. Their cooling system fails in midday heat the way ours doesn't. So what happened was this. A group of humans would spot prey and start jogging. Not sprinting, jogging. The prey bolted, leaving them far behind. Then slowed down to cool off. Then bolted again when the humans caught up. Slowed down, bolted. Slowed down again. Meanwhile, the humans just kept jogging. Same pace, patient, relentless. At some point, the prey couldn't run anymore. Sweat-drenched and overheated, it would stop, and the humans would catch up. This is called persistence hunting. Some communities still practice it today in the Kalahari Desert, in the Andes, and parts of Mexico. Researchers have documented it on video. From the animal's point of view, a jogging human wasn't just a predator. It was a predator that never stopped coming. That heat couldn't stop. That time couldn't tire. Animals that learned to flee the moment they detected a human silhouette survived. Those that hesitated often didn't. Generation after generation, that lesson transferred. Not as a story told around a fire, but as a reflex passed through offspring. We didn't just become hunters. We became the thing that doesn't stop. In 2016, researchers at the University of Western Ontario set up speakers in the wilderness of British Columbia and played audio recordings to see how wildlife responded. They played wolf howls. Animals scattered somewhat, a normal predator response. Then they played the sound of people having a casual conversation. Two adults talking about everyday things. Mountain lions fled at more than double the rate they fled from wolf howls. Bobcats disappeared from the area. Deer, raccoons, skunks, opossums, all bolted harder and faster from the sound of human small talk than from any other predator call the researchers tested. The scientists published the study and named us the super predator. Not because of physical superiority, we're genuinely modest in that department, but because we had become a threat to every layer of the food chain. We hunted predators. We pushed them out of territories. We killed them near livestock. We tracked and trapped and pursued animals that had never been prey to anything. Even apex predators learned, wherever humans go, nothing is safe. But the fear goes deeper than predation history, because we also break something fundamental in how animal brains process danger. Every predator has a pattern. Wolves hunt at dawn and dusk. Crocodiles ambush at the water's edge. Hawks circle open fields looking for small movements in the grass. These patterns are understood by prey animals at a level that shapes their entire daily behavior. They know which hours are safe, which terrain gives them warning time, where to drink without dying. Then there's us. Humans hunt in the morning and at night, alone and in groups, in silence and with tremendous noise, in forests, deserts, oceans, Arctic tundra. We've pursued animals we eat, animals we don't eat, animals that eat us, and animals that have never harmed anyone. We use spears, nets, traps, bows, rifles, sonar, drones. There is no time of day that's safe, no terrain that's off limits, no animal too large or too small or too fast. From a prey animal's perspective, we are a threat with no detectable pattern, no consistent behavior, and no predictable weakness. And an unpredictable threat is the worst kind, because you cannot calibrate your response to it. The only safe answer is to run every single time. Here's the interesting part. Not all animals are afraid of us, and the reason why tells us something important. City pigeons walk around human feet without flinching. Raccoons go through garbage while making direct eye contact. Seagulls at the beach will take food directly from your hand with what seems like conscious contempt. This is called habituation. When an animal experiences humans repeatedly with no negative consequence, the brain eventually stops treating us as a threat. This creature keeps showing up. Nothing bad has ever happened. Running is wasted energy. The fear gets turned down, but crows take this much further. Researchers at the University of Washington found that crows not only habituate, they study us. They recognize individual human faces. They remember specific people who threatened or wronged them and will harass those particular individuals, and only those individuals for years. They recruit other crows. They teach their offspring which humans to avoid. Crows didn't just lose their fear, they built a surveillance system. They're filing reports on us, updating those files across generations. The fear isn't fixed, it's based on information, and information can change. The clearest evidence for this comes from places where humans were never the threat. In 1835, Charles Darwin stepped ashore on the Galapagos Islands and described what he found with visible disbelief in his journal. He sat next to birds that didn't move. He pushed marine iguanas into the ocean and watched them swim back and settle next to him. He stood among giant tortoises that just kept eating. He walked up to a hawk on a branch and touched it. These animals weren't slow. They simply had no reason to run. The same thing happens in Antarctica today. Penguins approach researchers with genuine curiosity. They inspect equipment, investigate cameras, attempt to steal things. Scientists working there spend significant time redirecting curious penguins away from sensitive gears because the penguins simply have no fear response to activate. In marine reserves where fishing has been prohibited for decades, fish have started swimming toward divers. Fish in adjacent unprotected zones flee. Fish inside the protected zone approach. Same species. Different history. Different behavior. Fear of humans is not a default setting, it's learned. When the experience changes, when humans are consistently not a threat, the fear dissolves. Sometimes within just a few generations. And this fear doesn't just affect individual animals, it reshapes entire landscapes. In 1995, wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone National Park after a 70-year absence. Scientists expected fewer deer. What they didn't expect was everything else. Deer stopped grazing in open valleys. They avoided riverbanks. They abandoned certain meadows entirely. They weren't just being hunted, they were afraid, and fear changed where they went. Because deer stopped overgrazing the riverbanks, willows and aspens started growing back. Erosion slowed. Rivers physically changed course. Songbirds returned. Fish populations recovered because healthier streams meant better spawning. Beavers came back because suddenly there were trees to work with. All of it traced back to fear. Not predation, fear. Ecologists call this the landscape of fear. It's one of the most powerful invisible forces in nature. Humans create this effect wherever we go. A 2018 study published in Science tracked animal behavior across 6 continents and found that wildlife had measurably shifted toward a nighttime activity. Not because of habitat loss, but simply because humans were present during the day. Our presence alone is rearranging the daily schedules of animals across the entire planet. And it's not just the sight of us. Human scent is completely alien to natural ecosystems. Deodorant, laundry detergent, synthetic fabrics, processed food, exhaust. These chemicals have no equivalent in any forest or grassland on Earth. Researchers placed scent strips soaked in human sweat near wildlife cameras. The drop in animal activity was comparable to placing strips soaked in mountain lion urine. Human body odor registers to local wildlife as a predator-level threat signal. Not because you're dangerous in that specific moment, but because your scent carries the accumulated history of what your species has been in that environment. If animals fear us this deeply, why do some attack? In almost every dangerous encounter, 3 situations keep appearing. The animal feels cornered with no escape route. A mother perceives a threat to her young, or habitat loss has eliminated the margin of distance the animal would normally use to avoid us. These aren't predatory attacks, they're the desperate responses of an animal that has run out of options. Bears are naturally among the most avoidant large animals when it comes to humans. Given any reasonable escape route, a bear leaves. But as human development expands into bear territory, those escape routes shrink. A bear surprised at close range with nowhere to go will attack. Not because it wants a confrontation, but because flight has become impossible. The one genuine exception is the polar bear. It evolved in an environment where no history with humans existed. No one ever taught it what we are. The clearest window into a pre-fear world comes from first contact moments, when animals encounter humans for the very first time with no prior information. When European sailors arrived on Mauritius in the 1600s, they found a bird called the dodo. It had no predators on the island. It had never needed to flee. When the sailors landed, the dodos didn't run. They walked toward them. The sailors thought they were unintelligent. They weren't. They were simply operating without the one piece of information that might have saved them. What humans do. Within 100 years, the dodo was gone, not defeated by its slowness. Ended by the absence of a warning that never came. Animals fear us because we spent a long time earning that fear. We followed prey for hours through midday heat. We hunted at every hour in every climate with tools that never stopped changing. We're the only species that has pursued animals on every continent and in every ocean on Earth. The mountain lion that runs from two people talking isn't being irrational. It is acting on the most accurate information available. But here's what the islands and the reserves show us. The fear is not permanent. In places where humans have been reliably, consistently, provably safe, national parks, marine reserves, protected gorges, the behavior changes. Animals return to open spaces during daylight. They stop restructuring their entire lives around avoiding us. The landscape of fear dissolves. It doesn't require very long. Just enough consistent evidence that this particular human in this particular place is not a threat. The question isn't whether the fear can change. The data says it can. The question is what we choose to do to make it happen.